So, today's topic is a continuous part of yesterday's, that is pollination by water, which is called hydrophily. Pollination by water, hydrophily. Let us see how many plants of angiosperms show hydrophily. In the previous class, we have seen approximately around 30 genera, means genus. Around 30 genera, it means very less, rare. So, some rare plants only are capable to show hydrophily. Around 30 genera. In these 30 genera, mostly monocots. So, total number of hydrophilous plants are 30 genera. In these 30 genera, mostly monocot plants are able to show hydrophily or pollination by water. Now, we have seen in the previous class, in lower forms of plants like algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes, water is the only media and it is compulsory for these organisms, these plants, to show pollination and fertilization, because in algae they were living in water, they have to release the gametes. So in water these gametes will move, transfer from the male to the female. In the same way, bryophytes and pteridophytes, which are considered as amphibious plants of the plant kingdom. So what is meant by amphibious plants here? These bryophytes and pteridophytes, they require water for transferring their male gametes. It means without water they are not able to show pollination and do fertilization. So these bryophytes and pteridophytes, their species are restricted only in some areas, geographical distribution only in some areas because of this requirement. So everywhere water is not available, so everywhere bryophytes cannot grow, everywhere pteridophytes cannot grow. So bryophytes and pteridophytes, their natural normal requirement of water is to transfer their male gametes. They are called antherozooids, from antheridium to archegonium, to reach the egg cell through the water. That's why they are called amphibious plants of the plant kingdom. Whereas our angiospermic plants, hydrophily or pollination by water is again divided into two types. Generally, epihydrophily, hypohydrophily. Let us see what are these terms. Epi means upon the surface of the water. Epihydrophily. So the pollination in plants where plants are found on the surface of the water. Surface of the water. So those plants which will show hydrophily on the surface of the water, they are called epihydrophilous plants. Hypo, below. Hypo means below the surface of the water. Submerged plant species shows this. Hypohydrophily. Below the surface of water are submerged plant species. Submerged, suspended plants. Hypohydrophily, below the surface of the water. So they show pollination inside the water, on the surface of the water. Let us see how many types of plants are given in our book. as examples of showing hydrophilus plants showing hydrophily or pollination by water. Vallisneria, Hydrilla, Zostera. Generally, Vallisneria and Hydrilla both are freshwater plants. They may ask these questions as memory based questions in CET or NEET examinations. So out of the following types of plants, out of the following groups of plants, which comes under freshwater forms, which comes under marine water forms, which shows epihydrophily, which shows hypohydrophily. These are the generalized questions. So Vallisneria is a freshwater, Hydrilla is a freshwater, Zostera marine water form, sea water. Generally, these Zostera are called sea grasses. Zostera seagrass. Again, sir, the plants, examples of plants showing hydrophily, Vallisneria, Hydrilla, Zostera. Among these three, two are freshwater forms, one is marine form. Then question comes, whether all these shows epihydrophily or hypohydrophily. Now, to discuss this, Vallisneria shows epihydrophily. Vallisneria. Epihydrophily. Hydrilla both comes under freshwater, but Hydrilla shows hypohydrophily. Hydrilla shows hypo. Zostera shows water. It is a marine form and it is showing hypohydrophily. Hypohydrophily. So many other examples are there. Lemna, Cerotophyllum. So many are there. But according to our prescribed syllabus, Vallisneria, Hydrilla, Zostera. Let us see how in these plants water pollination occurs. Epihydrophilous plants like Vallisneria. Pollination in Vallisneria. Vallisneria plant is dioecious. What is meant by dioecious plant? Dioecious plant is that where in one plant male reproductive parts are there, in another plant female reproductive parts are there. So androecium is present in one plant, gynoecium is present in another plant. They may be separated. So male and female plants are separate. Such condition is called dioecious condition. Since water is there, water bodies, for example, freshwater body, in Vallisneria, dioecious plants both male and female plants are present inside the water like this. This is a female plant which is present inside the water, this female plant is able to show female flower here. This is a male plant somewhere there. It is also having male flower, male, female. Not like this, here they may be somewhere far distance. So here at the time of maturity, these two plants at the time of maturity, they start releasing the female flower by uncoiling this coiled tube like pedicel. This coiled tube like pedicel uncoiled and it comes to the surface of the water like an elongated structure. And able to move on the surface of the water. At the time of maturity, female plants, female flowers, they will uncoil the tube like pedicel and they comes, so a stalk is called, elongated stalk is called pedicel. Stalk. When at the time of maturity it is possible. As long as they were not mature, they were present inside the water body. In the same way, at the time of maturity, male flowers or pollen grains, they were separated and they were released. Not one, hundreds, thousands of pollen grains are released into the water. These pollen grains, they comes above the surface of the water bodies. Comes above the surface of the water bodies. So many, enormous number of, so many. So for example, this is a water body. Here a female plant is there, female flower is found on the surface of the water and male flowers are coming from far distances, that is maybe carrying the pollen grains. By chance factor, if they come near to the female flower, there is a chance of pollination. Is a chance factor. So pollination is a chance factor. For this enormous number of female, enormous number of male pollen grains or male flowers has to be released on the surface. By chance, if any will come nearer, attached to the female flower, pollination will be carried out. Vallisneria epihydrophily on the surface of the water body by the water currents. Now in Zostera, Zostera is a plant that present inside the water body. Zostera, sea grasses, Zostera. So what? It is suspended, submerged inside the water in the form of water body, in the form of inside the suspended structure. Whenever male and female are present, a different, for example, this is male, here somewhere female. Female Zostera is there inside. Female. Male Zostera. This male will release pollen grains. These pollen grains are elongated, ribbon shaped. Ribbon shaped, elongated. They were carried inside the water bodies by chance factor. Luckily, if they come and unite with the female flower, pollination happens. Elongated, ribbon shaped male pollen. Here, epihydrophily is seen in Vallisneria on the surface of the water. Hypohydrophily is seen in Joastina, which is inside the water. Now, generally they used to ask questions, what are the characteristic features of pollen of wind pollinated plants and water pollinated plants? We have seen in the previous class the characters, approximately 8 to 9 characters in wind pollinated plants. Now, simply the difference between wind and water pollinated plants, pollen grains are sticky. Pollen, water pollinated, sticky. They may be large, ribbon shaped or round of various shapes, and pollen escape from wetting. Wetting means they were moving in the water. No, definitely water will found on the surface of the pollen. It is called wetting of the pollen, but they will escape from the wetting of the pollen, escape from wetting by a mucilaginous cover. Mucilaginous covering. So, in water plants where pollen grains are shed out from the male, since they were moving in the water, they will be easily wetted by the water. So, they have adopted a covering which is called mucilaginous cover. This mucilaginous cover is absent in air pollinated plants, air pollens. And air pollinated pollen, they were non-sticky in nature, light in nature. Here they were sticky in nature. Next, in air pollinated, stigmas are feathery and long, but here stigmas are also sticky. Why? Because whenever male pollen is coming to a female Vallisneria, they have to stick together for some time for pollination, for fertilization, to send the pollen. So, stigmas also sticky. Characters of water pollinated plants. Stigma also sticky. Pollen also sticky. Pollen is having a mucilaginous cover, and water pollinated plants do not have any color. Generally, no nectar, no color, no nectar, stigma sticky, pollen sticky, mucilaginous covering of the pollen. Why, sir? There is no need to attract any insects here. There is no need to attract any insect. So, they were not pollinated by any animals, insects or bees. So, they are pollinated by non-living things, that is water or wind. Again, in this universe, question comes, hydrophytic plants are the plants which lives in water. All hydrophytic plants, whether they show hydrophily, maybe epihydrophily or hypohydrophily. Statement type of questions or assertion and reason question. All the plants which are living in water, I repeat the question, all the plants which are living in water are called hydrophytes. Whether all the hydrophytes shows hydrophily or not. whether all the hydrophytes shows either epihydrophily or hypohydrophily or not. For this, yes, all the hydrophytes which are living in water, they may not show hydrophily. All the hydrophytes or water living plants may not show hydrophily. Why, sir? What is the reason? Or which plants are not showing hydrophily? The reason is here, examples of plants. Water hyacinth. Water hyacinth, which is called Eichhornia, scores of the water bodies. Terror of the Bengal, water hyacinth. Eichhornia. This is a plant, weed of the water bodies. This is a water plant, it is a hydrophyte, it lives in water, but it will not show hydrophily. Water lily, another plant. Water hyacinth and water lily, it is also a hydrophyte, water plant living in water bodies, but it will not show hydrophily or water pollination. Why? Because these plants, they definitely grow in water, but they will produce their flowers outside the water bodies. For example, this is water body. Our Eichhornia plant grows like this on the surface, but it produces flowers above the water here. So when the flowers are produced above the surface of the water, plant flowers, when the flowers are above the, completely above the water level in the air or atmosphere, definitely there is no need of water pollination by water currents. They have to show pollination either by wind or by insects. So they pollinate either by wind pollination, or insect pollination. Wind pollination is called anemophily. Insect pollination is called entomophily. Entomophily. Either by wind or by insects, these plants, even though they belongs to water, even though they were found in living in water. So most of the plant species that lives in water, they show pollination either by wind or by insect. Very rare species of plants like Vallisneria or Hydrilla or Jostira or Lemma or Ceratophyllum, these plants which are showing pollination by water or hydrophily. Let us see pollination by animals. Biotic agents. Pollination by So pollination we have studied abiotic agents and biotic agents. Abiotic agents are wind pollination and water pollination. Some plants, few plants belongs to few species or groups of plants shows wind pollination and water pollination. But major amount of plant species, they shows pollination by biotic agents, particularly animals. In that animals, particularly insects, generally. In that insects also, examples of animals or biotic agents that shows pollination. Examples of biotic agents or animals or insects that shows pollination may be very small to very large in size. These pollinating agents may be very small to very large. For examples, bees, butterflies, flies, beetles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wasps, ants, moths, birds, hummingbirds, sunbirds, various birds. So 9, minimum 9 different types of, according to the textbook. It is compulsory to remember the examples. How many? They may give a box. In that box, they may give various examples of insects. And they may ask a question. Choose from the above, how many are responsible for this type of pollination? How many are responsible for that type of pollination? How many number of individuals are responsible for air, water? So many questions. So, memory based example oriented question. Bees, butterflies, flies, page number 29-30. Bees, butterflies, beetles, wasps, ant, moth, birds, bats. These are all various types of biotic agents. Among these, in the book it was mentioned clearly, among these, the dominant biotic pollinating agent. They may ask tight question. Insects, among the animals. Insects are the, in the insects particularly, in the insects, particularly bees. Straight question from the textbook. Point to point, when you refer the textbook sentence to sentence, paragraph to paragraph, you will see various questions. In every page you can create 20 or 30 questions based upon your interest. So, these are the various types of pollinating agents, and also we have given some other detail in the previous class. Now, the most dominating biotic agent is bees. Even larger animals, are act like pollinators or pollinating agents. For example, belongs to primates, order Primata, lemurs. Primates, lemur. What are these lemurs are? Lemurs are nothing but old world monkeys. Old world monkeys. You will see this in National Geographic Channel, Animal Planet. Lemurs, lorises, tarsiers, so which are moving on the plants arboreal life. These lemurs are responsible to brought up pollination in some plants. In the same way, tree dwelling rodents. Tree dwelling means moving on the trees like these monkeys, but they were not monkeys, they were mammals. Tree dwelling rodents, a group of mammals which are nothing but type of rats, fossorial and arboreal. These are called arboreal. Arboreal means on trees, like squirrel. So, which are some are living in the soil inside, fossorial. Some are living on. So, tree dwelling or arboreal. Tree dwelling means they are moving from one tree to other tree. Arboreal. Squirrels or mice, all this comes under rodents. So, these rodents act like pollinators in some plants to brought up pollination. In the same way, in some plant groups, reptiles like Checo lizard, garden lizard are act like pollinators. It means what he wants to say, pollinating agents by biotic agents, especially animals. These animals may be in the form of insects like small, very small to very large. Bees, butterflies, flies, beetles, wasps, ants, moths, birds, bats, or even lemurs, rodents, reptiles like lizards. All these comes under biotic community which act like pollinators or pollinating agents. And it was clearly mentioned that every specific plant is having a specific pollinating animal. Oh, this is called species specific. So each and every plant, it has its own a specific pollinating animal. For example, like this, Melacophily only by snails, Ophiophily only by Chiropterophily only by bats, Ornithophilo by birds. So different plant species are having different particular or specific animal as their pollinating agent. Each plant species has a particular indicates a specific animal as their pollinator. Underline in the textbook statement. They can ask assertion, reason question, statement type of question. Remember all these. How to remember means you have to put numbers. Otherwise it is difficult for everyone. So pollination by wind, pollination by water, pollination by biotic agents. Here, whenever pollination is going on, how actually it is happening? What are the characteristic features of pollinating plants? Characters of plants or flowers, whatever it is, plants, characters of plant flowers which are pollinated by biotic agents, especially bees or beetles. For example, bees and beetles. If they were going to the plant, why they will go to plant? Why they will reach a plant? Whether anybody told them to go there? to do pollination? No. Generally, the flowers are large. Flowers are colored, colorful. Flowers are having odor or fragrance. Flowers are having nectar. So, generally flowers are large with attractive color to attract the insects. If they are large, they will be seen. If they are having colored, red, yellow, orange, blue, various colored, they will be easily attracted by insects. And when a particular flower is here, large, having color, and when it is releasing the fragrance, automatically the bees which are moving here will come near the fragrance for this to see this, to swoon this fragrance. Automatically they will fall on the flower. When they are falling, when they were sitting, when they were landing on a flower, what for they were landing and what flower is going to give in return to them? Flower is going to give some rewards. Flower is going to produce some foul odor, some pungent smell with which they were attracted. After that, they will land on the flower. When they land on the flower, flower will give floral rewards. Generally, they will ask in the PUC or NEET or CET, any examination, what are floral rewards? Floral rewards are those things which are given to the insect group by the flower. Floral rewards are the things which are given to the insect. Maybe it is a bee or butterfly, fly or beetle, whatever. Floral rewards. Generally, usual floral rewards are nectar and pollen. Generally, usual floral rewards given by a flower to a insect pollinator are nectar and pollen. It means whenever insect visit a flower, why insect will visit a flower? Because it was attracted by the odor, fragrance, or it was attracted by the color. It was attracted by the, if flowers are small, another concept is there. For example, in some plants, flowers are not large. They were small, but they were colored, compulsory color. If flowers are small and colored, insect is not easily attracted. So many such small flowers are grouped in the form of a inflorescence. If they were in the form of a inflorescence, means large, many. So clearly, they can be seen by the insects. As a matter of fact, they were attracted by the color of so many number of flowers, inflorescence. So if flowers are small, they are inconspicuous. They are not clearly seen. So when they were not clearly seen, then they were arranged in the form of a cluster or inflorescence to become conspicuous. Conspicuous means clear. If flowers are small, they are not clearly seen, inconspicuous. Because of this, many flowers arranged compactly and becomes conspicuous. Conspicuous means clearly visible by their attractive color. Automatically they will be attracted by the insects, and insects will come near to the flower, they will sit on, they will land on the flower. When they land on the flower, automatically pollen will be supplied. So here insect pollinated plants are having a pollen which is sticky in nature, which is totally different than the air pollinated. In air pollinated plants, pollen grain is non-sticky, whereas insect pollinated plants, pollen grain is sticky. Why? Whenever a flower is attracting an insect, insect will sit on the flower. When it sit or land on the flower, by the sticky nature of the pollen, they will be attached to the abdominal surface of the insect, bees, butterflies, whichever insect it is. So when they were attached to the abdominal surface of the insect, they were, whenever it is going to other flower, they are carried. And when they were carrying this pollen grain, when they land on the other flower, definitely, without any doubt, they will supply this pollen grain to the stigma of that flower. So, transfer of pollen grains from the anthers of one flower to stigma of the another flower of the same species. Maybe in the same plant, geitonogamy, or in different plant, xenogamy or allogamy, cross pollination. So, the birds or insects or various living organisms which comes under animal category, biotic agents, they were responsible to brought up. So whenever they were visiting a flower, why they will visit a flower? Because of the color of the flower, because of the nectar or fragrance, because the fragrance, due to the nectar maybe fragrance, due to some other volatile substances, fragrance will be there. So whenever fragrance is coming out, automatically they will land. When they are landing, they will definitely will get nectar. They can take the nectar from the flower, and automatically, indirectly, they were collecting the pollen. So pollen and the nectar, these are the two usual floral rewards given to a visitor, insect visitor, by a flower. And in the book, they have given several other floral rewards, which are of rare occurrence. Rare examples of plant species. First example, Amorphophallus, which is called elephant's foot. Amorphophallus, Jameen Kand, elephant's foot. In this plant, it has flower is large. Flower is large. How much large? 5 to 6 feet in size. So, there is a plant, Amorphophallus. Flower is large. How much large? 6 feet approximately in size. And it produces pungent odor smell. So, it is a 6 feet flower. So, it is having enough space provision for some insects to lay their eggs, and it is the safest place for their eggs. So, the floral reward in Amorphophallus plant is providing space to lay eggs and to keep them safe. Floral reward is providing space to some insects to lay eggs and keep safely. So laying eggs, so wherever only some specific plant. So Amorphophallus is specific, that particular insect is specific for Amorphophallus plant. Amorphophallus plant, a particular insect is specific, it will go to the Amorphophallus plant only, and because of a large area or space of 6 feet flower, it can lay eggs and it will keep them safe until they hatch into larvae. So this is the floral reward given by Amorphophallus plant flower to the insect visitor. Some other rare examples of floral rewards are there. Some other the plant called, second example, Yucca, belongs to Liliaceae family, plant called Yucca, and a moth called Tageticula yuccacella, Pronuba yuccacella, old names. Tageticula yuccacella is the name of the moth, M-O-T-H. Plant is yucca. So there is a mutual interrelationship which is called obligate mutualism, compulsory. What is this obligate compulsory mutualism? They were mutually able to exchange something between them. Let us see. Yucca plant, whenever it matures, it produces flowers. Yucca plant flower. And whenever yucca plant is forming flowers, a specific moth called Tageticula yuccacella, it is capable to enter into the flowers and it reaches the stigma. Then from the stigma it moves inside the ovary in the locule of the ovary. Every one of us, we know what is locule. Locule is the ovarian cavity inside the ovary where ovules are present. This moth enters into the locule of the ovary where it lays eggs. Let us see this clearly. So when a yucca plant produces flowers, a moth is attracted by this, only that particular Tageticula moth. It will enter inside the stigma into the ovary where it will lay eggs. After laying eggs, it will come out. So while it is moving and going, one interesting factor is that moth will collect the pollen grains from the androecium of the same flower. When it is collecting androecium, when it is collecting the pollen from the androecium or stamens of the flower, it will prepare these pollen grains in the form of a round cyst. This round cyst, it will keep inside the, besides the chin or head region. So this moth, by making the total pollen grains in the form of a cyst, a bowl, it will wrap and it will keep in the side of its chin. And when it is going into this and keeping its eggs there, after that it will come out, it will visit another flower. When it will visit another flower, it is going to deposit this pollen grain on the stigma. So whenever this moth is not moving into that flower, the pollen grain is not deposited on the stigma. Oh, when it is moving from flower to other flower, flower to other flower, flower to other flower, it is carrying from pollen grains from one flower to other flower, and it is depositing the pollen grains on the stigma of that flower. After that, it will go inside the, it will lay eggs there. How long these eggs will be there unhatched? They will hatch when, after fertilization, the ovules will become seeds. Once Ovules become seeds. By the time when ovules become seeds, the eggs will hatch and becomes larvae. Hatch, H-A-T-C-H, and becomes larvae. These larvae, they have to eat seeds as their food material. So, if seeds are not there, larvae will not grow. If seeds are not there, larvae will not grow. If moth is not there, pollination will not occur. So, both plant and moth are in such a mutual obligate mutualism. It means obligate means compulsory. Without the moth, plant cannot show pollination and fertilization. Without the plant, the larvae of the moth cannot feed. They cannot develop into adult. They will feed on the seeds. So many seeds will be there. They are not going to eat all the seeds. Some seeds will be left for the plant to reproduce, regenerate. Some amount of seeds are taken by the larvae. It means a moth, if it has to continue its generation from one generation to another generation to the eggs, the larvae immediately after their hatching from the eggs, they have to feed upon the seeds. How seeds are formed? By fertilization only. When fertilization occurs? By pollination, by transferring the pollen from anther to the stigma. So, moth, Tagetiacula and the yucca plant is a type of association. Without these, without one. So, it means if moth dies means yucca plant also will die. If yucca plant is not there means moth will not survive for long generation. This is called obligate mutualism, which comes under to understand the types of pollinations and the important significance of pollination. Let us see, sir, whenever a flower is releasing something, maybe of color or by nectar or by the odor or fragrance, insects are attracted. Here pseudo copulation is there. Pseudo, false, copulation, pollination, fertilization. What is this? Some flowers, they will produce odor or they foul a smell which resembles that of a female insect. So some flowers in this universe are there. They will smell, they will release some fragrance which resembles that a female insect here. Whenever male insects are coming, they feel that by the smell of the flower like a female, they expect that some female insect is here. They will drop, they will land on the flower automatically. Pollination will occur. So, this is called pseudo copulation. Now, so many types are there. As far as our syllabus is concerned, for any of the examination, it is okay. Now, sometimes whenever flower is having fragrance, whenever it is having color, odor, nectar, some insects will come. They will move around the flower, they will land on the flower. They will collect the nectar, and they are not going to show any pollination. So there is no use of such pollinators. Some pollinators, without forming any pollination, without creating any pollination, but only they will theft. They will take the nectar from the flowers, they will go away. Such pollinators are called pollen robbers or nectar robbers. What are pollen robbers or nectar robbers? Robbers are nothing but the thieves which will theft without doing pollination, without fertilization. Simply they will land on the particular flower, they will take the nectar from the flower, they will escape out. They are called pollen robbers, pollen theft, thieves of the pollen. So, what are floral rewards? How many types of plants comes under showing pollination by wind, pollination by water, pollination by insects. One neat question. Water pollinated plants most of the hydrophytes shows one of the following pollination method. So hydrophytes shows one of the following. They will give option 1, 2, 3, 4, or they may give A, B, C, D. After giving this, they may give A and C are correct, A and D are correct, C, D only are correct, only D are correct. So this is called multiple selection. This is called multiple choice, multiple selection from the same question, 4 options. Again, sub options, you have to select which is correct. So it depends upon the teacher, it depends upon the paper setter, various. If you know the central concept of most of the hydrophily, it means hydrophytes which are living in water, but rare are showing hydrophily, but most of them will show either wind pollination or insect pollination.